What's good with y'all boys? Welcome back to another episode of Rand Everything Sports Podcast. Today I'm here to break down my college football picks. We all know that the Monday night games are going to come soon, man. Less than 48 hours away from the big kickoffs. Now, I'm going to talk about the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. I'm going to start with the Sugar Bowl first. Talking about Texas versus Washington now. This is one of the most anticipated games, honestly. These two teams match up great against each other. Now, I do love Washington in this game. I'm not going to lie. I like Washington, but I'm here to talk about both these sides. Now, Texas, the whole season, great wins. Alabama, 34-24. Kansas State, and Oklahoma State. The only loss was to Oklahoma in that red rivalry game. So we all know that was kind of a fluke game. I understand that this team is still much better. They got wins without their best quarterback, Quinn Ewers, against Houston, BYU, and Kansas State, one of those top wins that I talked about. Jonathan Brooks, their star running back, tore his ACL, but Jaden Blue and CJ Baxter came in and filled his shoes very, very well. I don't expect that to be too big of a story and issue. Xavier Worthy, this gives him time to get healthy. In their conference championship game, he was limping around with an ankle, but now 3-4 weeks, that should all be healed up and fine. Both these teams are going to be at full health. Adonai Mitchell playing excellent, the transfer from Georgia. This team has a great D-line. They do. They held Ollie Gordon, the nation's leading rusher, to 34 yards in that championship game. He just played a bowl game and had over 110. So we know how good their defensive line is. But the problem for me is the secondary. And now just talk about Washington for a little bit. Washington beat Arizona, great win. Beat Oregon, great win. Beat Oregon again in their conference champion game. Beat USC and beat Utah. This team's 13-0 undefeated. Excellent team. Michael Penix, he's legit. Finished second in the Heisman racing. Won the best overall player award. Dylan Johnson, they can also pound the rock. 1,000-yard rusher. 6 yards per carry. 8 touchdowns. This team is super balanced, both running the ball and throwing the ball. But no doubt about it, they definitely would rather throw it than run it. That's for sure. But they can definitely run it with Dylan Johnson. Rome Odunze, 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns. This guy is elite. Second best receiver, in my opinion, in the league behind Marvin Harrison. It's not that big of a gap. Jalen McMillan, he's the star for me. He was hurt for most of the year, but he came back in that conference champion game off injury. 9 receptions, 131 against Oregon. This guy, he's legit. Nobody talks about him, but I think he's going to be a big difference. And we all also know what Jaden Port can do. That guy's magnificent. They got 3 guys who can get the ball and break 100. I mean, this team is incredible. Rome Odunze had 5 300-yard games. Jaden Polk had 6 stuff for the whole season. And Jaden McMillan, his most recent game, 9 receptions, 131. So this team is super explosive on both sides. Now, the only way that Texas is going to be able to dominate this game and win this game, I think, is with their defensive line. Their defensive line matches up excellent against a smaller, less athletic and strong and physical Washington offensive line. So if they can get pressure on Penix, kind of shut down that run game, how they have the whole season with Bama and most recently Ollie Gordon in Oklahoma State, I think that they're going to really be able to control this game all in all, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing for me. But if Washington is able to protect Michael Penix and allow him to get time to get the ball to these playmakers and maybe establish the run a little bit with Dylan Johnson and just get that run game flowing a little bit, then Texas is going to be in a heap of trouble. Their secondary is their weakest part of their team, I believe. And the skill players for Washington, that's their strong suit. So it's kind of a strong suit on a weakness, but it's also kind of a weakness on a strong suit for Washington's offensive line and Texas' defensive line. So I'm very interested to see how this game plays out, and I'm super excited to watch it. Now, the line for the game, Texas is currently minus 4.5. I love Washington. I'm not going to lie, dude. I'm taking their money line, and I'll definitely grab the points as well. I just don't see either of these games being blowouts, but especially not this one. The over-under for the game is 63.5. I'm not sure about that, but I do have the final score being Washington 35, Texas 31. So I have the over. I think it's going to be somewhat of a shootout, and I expect Washington with Michael Penix, one of the probably, in my opinion, it's hard to say he's not the best quarterback, but definitely one of the best players in the nation. So I have Washington winning and playing. What we'll see in the national championship game, winning 35-31. Now, for my personal favorite game, the Rose Bowl, the first of the games. I really wish this game was a night game, but the Rose Bowl is the first of these games, so I can't wait to talk about this game. Now, Texas. I'm sorry, Michigan, 13-0. Started off the year very, very fast this whole year. there was a lot of talk about them not having a schedule, and then Jim Harbaugh and all the allegations in the tampering or cheating or the thing he did with the recruits with the hamburgers. There's a whole lot of noise, a whole lot of talk. Not so much about the game itself, but about their schedule and what's going on with Jim Harbaugh. And I'm glad that we can look back on it and be like, wow, this team was good. Through all that, this team still finished 13-0, beating some pretty good teams. Beat Penn State 24-15, wasn't that close. Beat Ohio State 30-24, that was a good game. And then beat Iowa 26-0, and Iowa showed no signs of life with that terrible offense. So, we all know that Missouri beat Ohio State and Ole Miss smacked Penn State. So that does scare me if I'm a Michigan fan. The fact that Ole Miss, who just beat Penn State, smacked Penn State, Alabama handled and beat by 14, and another SEC team in Missouri just beat Ohio State. So the SEC, it's a different level. Was the Big 12 ever that good? I'm not sure, but if I'm a Michigan fan, that scares me, no doubt about it. I think the SEC is just different, and I love Bama in this game. Now, moving on to Alabama, right? 12-1, wins against Ole Miss, 24-10, wasn't that close. Wins against Tennessee, 34-20, closer than it looked. LSU, 40-28, Jane Daniels did get knocked out, but they still played a great game. Then against Georgia most recently in the SEC Championship game, 27-24, fantastic game. They played a great game, no doubt about it. Georgia did have some guys banged up in Brock Bowers and Lamb Cockney, but they still played an excellent game. There's no doubt about it. I love Nick Saban. I mean, the greatest coach of all time. You give him extended time to prepare for a game. I mean, we see what he does in a week. Multiply that by 4, and you see what you get. Multiple championships. I mean, this guy is just a guru, and that's why he's been so successful. Jalen Milroe is playing amazing. He really is. I understand the 4th and 31. They needed a 4th and 31. I don't care. I don't care. The fact is they got it, and Jalen Milroe has only just played better. Against Georgia. Georgia gave him too much time, and he really beat him the most with his arm. He did. Especially that one drive with 5 straight receptions to Bond for 61 yards. Then he ended up throwing a touchdown. This guy's been playing excellent. He hasn't been turning the ball over. That was huge for them, especially in that Texas game. He had 2 awful turnovers, but he just hasn't really been turning the ball over, and he's been using his legs more too. I really like how they have kind of mirrored the offense around what he does best, and that's being able to make plays with his feet and kind of leaning on the run game more too. This kind of old school, physical Alabama football. Their offensive line is also playing extremely well, and the defense is playing great. This Alabama team all around is just playing excellent. And now to go to my prediction. So, Alabama versus Michigan. Michigan's currently -2. Alabama's plus 105. Michigan's minus 105. It's a very tight-knit game. It's almost like a pick 'em. I think if Alabama was the 1 seed and Michigan was the 4, it'd kind of be flipped. But they're not. The over-under is 44.5. Almost 20 points less than the Sugar Bowl. With that one being 63.5. So we understand it's going to be a completely different type of game here, because Michigan has a great defense, but Alabama has a pretty good defense as well. Now, I'm taking Bama in this game 24-20. My biggest reasons are I just can't bet against Nick Saban. I'm not sure how good the Big Ten was actually, just because Ole Miss just smacked Penn State and Missouri just beat Ohio State. So, how good is the Big Ten actually, So I like Alabama in this game 24-20, but those are my predictions for the biggest bowl games, man. I love what the committee did. I think that Florida State, while they probably deserved to get in, they weren't one of the 4 best teams. They just simply weren't. I think Georgia was one of the 4 best teams, but when you just lose to Alabama, you can't put them in. So if Texas went in, Alabama had to, which they did. Then obviously Michigan and Washington had to go in as well. So listen, I love what they did. I agree with it. I am happy that we get to 12 teams next year, so that kind of drowned out the noise. But even the 12th and 13th team, there'll still probably be talk and chatter about that. So I love the controversy. I think it's what makes college football. A quick note on the bowl game. I'm not sure how we can get these players to start playing and not opt out or transfer and everything like that. I just think it's one of those things that's going to happen. I think from now on, guys are going to leave. Guys are going to opt out, especially if they have, if they want to go play in the NFL. And it's hard for me to blame them for that. Me personally, I would leave too. I'm not going to risk taking an injury for a game that, quote unquote, doesn't matter. If it's not the national championship. because and lose millions of dollars. It's not going to happen. So I understand it's hard and it's kind of a tough watch, and it's kind of bumming if you're a fan of that team and the star player's not playing. But you have to look at it from the player's perspective. And what would you do? Would you risk, getting injured and not playing? Especially the guys that come from low down areas and come from nothing. You can't tell a guy who's had nothing to then not go to the NFL draft early because you want to see them play. That doesn't make sense, and that's selfish of you. So I love what these guys are doing. Okay, I'm not sure if I love what these guys are doing, but I definitely understand. And me personally, I probably would too, and I can't blame a guy for getting money early. That's not going to happen. So I'm not sure what we can do to maybe persuade these guys more or maybe get them more interested in these bowl games. But nonetheless, I still enjoy them, and I love the matchups Monday night. So, y'all, I enjoy watching college football with y'all this year. I will give my biggest breakdown. Of course, we're going to come out with the next championship video. A preview. We're going to react to these games as well. So there's not too many more videos left in college football, of course. But I still enjoy the time with y'all, and as always, tune in next time. Peace.